Let's talk about something that pretty much runs your life, whether you notice it or not. I'm talking about your habits. These are the tiny, automatic things you do every day, and honestly, they're the invisible architects of who you are.
Okay, let's make this real for you, right now. I want you to think of one habit, just one, that you absolutely wish you could kick to the curb. Is it mindlessly scrolling on your phone at night? Grabbing junk food when you're stressed? Get one in your head. You got it? Okay, good.
Now let's flip that. What's one good habit you'd love to have? Like finally reading more books or actually exercising consistently. Hold on to both of those, the good and the bad, because by the end of this, you're going to have a game plan for both.
So if you want to change a habit, you've got to understand how it's built in the first place. Think of habits as your brain's ultimate energy-saving mode. They're basically shortcuts to help you get through the day without having to think about every single thing.
See, every single habit kicks off with what's called a cue. This is the trigger, the starting gun. That ping from your phone, that's a cue. The smell of fresh coffee in the morning. Yep, that's a cue too. It's the little nudge that tells your brain, hey, it's time to run that program. And that cue immediately triggers the routine. This is the action you do without thinking. The phone pings, and the routine is picking it up. You smell the coffee, the routine is pouring a cup. It's the actual behavior we call the habit.
And here's the part that makes it all stick, the reward. For any of this to become automatic, there has to be a payoff. The reward for checking your phone might be a little hit of dopamine from a new notification. The reward for coffee is that kick of caffeine. This last step is your brain saying, ooh, that was nice, let's do that again.
So that's the magic formula. Cue, then routine, then reward. This whole loop runs on complete autopilot, deep in your brain, in a spot called the basal ganglia. Once it's wired in, you don't even have to think about it. It just happens.
All right, let's put this to the test. Go back to that bad habit you thought of earlier. Can you pinpoint the cue? What kicks it off? Is it a feeling, like stress or boredom? Is it a certain time of day, maybe that 3 p.m. slump? Just figuring out the trigger is, seriously, the most powerful first step you can take.
Now here's where a lot of us go wrong. We think changing habits is all about having incredible willpower, right? We just tell ourselves, I just need to try harder. But it turns out, science shows that's a really shaky strategy.
The best way to picture willpower is like the battery on your phone. You wake up with a full charge, but every single decision you make all day, every email you answer, every temptation you fight off, it just drains that battery bit by bit. That's why saying no to a donut at 9 a.m. is way easier than saying no to a bowl of ice cream at 9 p.m. Your battery's dead.
So if just gritting your teeth and trying harder is a bust, then what actually works? It's this. Stop trying to make these huge, heroic changes. Real, lasting change comes from taking tiny, almost ridiculously small steps over and over again. That's what actually rewires the brain.
Okay, let's bring this down to earth. Think about that good habit you wanted to build. Instead of this big, scary goal like, I'm going to work out for an hour every day, what if you just aimed for something tiny, like, I'm just going to do 5 push-ups? See, the goal isn't to get a killer workout at first. The goal is to make the act of starting completely automatic. All right, so we get the science, we know willpower is overrated. Now let's get to the good stuff. A simple 4-step playbook for actually making good habits stick and finally breaking those bad ones.
But first, you have to get this one idea deep in your bones. Habits compound. One tiny action today feels like nothing. But you do that every day for a year, the results are gigantic. It's just like brushing your teeth, a small 2-minute task that prevents a massive, painful problem later on. It all boils down to these 4 laws. For a good habit, you want to make the cue obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, and make it satisfying. So make it obvious by putting your running shoes right by the door. Make it attractive by, say, only listening to your favorite podcast while you work out. Make it so easy you can't possibly say no. And finally, make it satisfying. Celebrate that small win immediately. That's what tells your brain, yeah, let's do that again tomorrow.
Look, knowing all this is one thing, but actually doing something with it, that's where the change happens. So let's tie it all together and figure out the very first tiny step you can take, like today.
All right, here's your challenge. Step 1, nail down the cue for that bad habit. Let's say it's that 3 p.m. energy crash. Step 2, swap out the routine. Instead of reaching for a cookie, you're going to replace it with the tiny version of your new good habit. So when that slump hits, you don't grab a snack, you just stand up and do a 30-second stretch. You keep the same cue, you just change the action that follows. It's that simple.
And please remember this. This is not about being perfect. You are going to miss a day. It's going to happen. That's not a failure. The goal isn't to have a perfect, unbroken streak. The goal is to just show up again tomorrow. It's the repetition that rewires your brain, not perfection.
So I'll leave you with this. Don't worry about next week or next year. Right now, based on everything we just talked about, what is the one tiny, almost laughably small action you can commit to doing today? Because that, right there, is where everything begins.